Evening Cherries fans, and welcome to a special interview here on Up the Cherries in All Departments. Prior to welcoming on my special guest, here is a bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. To find out what they can do for you, please visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. Now, my special guest today is a female football coach and a goalkeeper playing for AFC Fylde women's team. She's also passed her football coaching and management degree recently as well. It is a pleasure to welcome onto the show Beth Powney. How you doing, Beth? All right?
Yes, good. Thanks, Craig. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. And thank you so much for joining us on this show. It's an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. Don't worry about it.
Good stuff. Well, firstly, do tell us a little bit about how you got into football and your career so far.
Well, I think my story coming into football was quite similar to a lot of female footballers. Started in primary school on a playground. I sort of had to force my way into playing with the boys. They didn't want to be seen with me, be seen playing with a girl. Unfortunately, that was like the mindset back then. And so I sort of just used to get stuck in goal. And from then, it actually turned out that I was quite pretty fearless and pretty ruthless in goal. So I sort of stuck with that. And then I saw like an advertisement at primary school for a girls' football team. So I went and joined that football team, and luckily it was an all-girls football team, so I didn't have any awkwardness of being around boys. Possibly for development, it might have been better playing with boys at a younger age, but I liked it personally just because of all the trouble that I went with, all the trouble that I had in primary school with the boys. So it was nice, and then that's sort of where the passion started, really.
Excellent stuff. And by all means, what sort of activities do you do outside of football?
Football pretty much is my life, to be fair. So yeah. I am quite boring, like when you're writing a CV or something, they're like, what other activities do you like? I'm like, well, it's just kind of boring, really. But I like makeup. I like fashion. I like girly things as well. I like that as well because I think stereotypically a lot of people have a vision of what a female footballer should be like, and I like that I don't fit that stereotype. And as you've probably seen on Twitter, that angered quite a few people, that I'm a somewhat attractive female that likes football and can get a degree in football, and so I like makeup. I love it. I've probably I used to wear false eyelashes to football. I used to be caked in makeup when I was younger. Now, like, it's a bit more serious, so I sort of take off the makeup because I get all sweaty and stuff. And yeah, but I like music. I like to listen to music. I like drives in the car. I like to adventure. I like to go out and see the world. Like October at the minute is absolutely gorgeous. October's my favourite month. So
Yeah, it's mine as well because it's my birthday.
oh, is it? What day's your birthday?
The 11th. So yeah, a
Oh,
couple of days ago.
oh, amazing!
Yeah.
Oh,
So
happy belated birthday.
thank you.
So yeah, I just love like going out and exploring, but I also do like chilling as well because being obviously playing football and stuff, and being very active, you do have to have your down days and just literally sit, chill, and do nothing.
And you're currently goalkeeper for AFC Fylde. How is the season going, and what is your career up to playing for AFC Fylde?
Yeah, so our season's going really, really well. The girls are absolutely smashing it. I think we're third in the table now. I'm currently out on loan, but we're just trying to find somewhere for me to settle. But yeah, it's going well. I'm still training with the girls. I'm still like well in there and support them on every Sunday. But yeah, like we're doing well.
Excellent. And I know that you played for another couple of teams as well before university as well.
Yeah, I played for Wolves before I come to uni, and that was a bit of a heartbreak for me because I really enjoyed Wolves, and I did see like a career and staying with them, and now they're actually in our league. They've just been promoted, and me having to leave for uni, it was a bit like, oh god, I finally like broke through into like first team football, and now I've got to move up to uni and try and find a team up here, which was difficult because I didn't have the contacts that I do now. And it's like moving from Midlands to North, it's different. Midlands football compared to Northern football, it is different. So that was hard, but I also played for a team called TNS,
Yeah.
and that was before I joined Wolves. And they were a really good side when I was growing up. I know they have really good provisions for the younger girls, so that was really good. And it was nice to see like the Welsh league as well. Like we'd go play tournaments in Bangor and things like that. Yeah, so that was fun because you got to see a sort of different side of, well, it was the Welsh FA, not the English FA.
Awesome stuff. Of course, as you mentioned there as well, Beth, you got your first in football coaching and management, so massive congratulations.
Thank you very much.
What did the course entail, and what would you say to any female players and fans wanting to get into football coaching?
At the course, a lot of stuff. Tactical side of things. In our first year, we were looking at different managers, and the assignment briefs were very structured in our first year, so a lot of things that they want you to do. But as you got further through the years, you got to take ownership of your own assignments. So I used to sway things more towards like female football, and my dissertation was on excuse me, was on psychological challenges of goalkeepers, which was really fun and interesting. And I did both male and female goalkeepers from grassroots to professional to interview. So things like that. So it's not just, I know it says football coaching and management, but you also do like, you look at management and leadership styles and what makes a good leader. And it's not just necessarily football. We used to speak about like in one of my assignments, I spoke about Jacinda Ardern, the New Zealand Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And so I spoke about her, and you do have to relate it back to sport, but it is good to make comparisons of like different leaders in different industries and things like that. So it was very good. A lot of content, not just formations, what the best formation is. Analysis as well. We did match analysis, which it was quite interesting. It was hard, but interesting. But it's a lot from. I think people think that a degree of football coaching management is not a proper degree, but it is academic. You have got to research and do the same things that everybody else, whether it's a maths degree, a business degree, you've got to do the same things as everybody else. Have a look through previous research, sport research, and if anything, it probably was a little bit harder because you had to use your own initiative to find research that's not necessarily within football. You'd have to draw from different sports because the research that is on football is not as current as other industries. So sometimes you'd have to draw from different sports in your assignments, but then have to relate it back, which was it's not easy.
Do tell us a bit about the psychology of goalkeepers. I'm interested now.
Well, being a goalkeeper myself, I know how mentally how taxing that position is and how it needs to be highlighted more within the industry, within academia. So I researched stress, anxiety, confidence, and another challenge. I called it a challenge because you couldn't call it what could you call it, like something to do with you had to call it a psychological challenge instead of like mental health or things like that, because it's quite hard for passing it through certain things and getting it ticked off or whatever. So but yeah, so I did stress and I did interviews, and the findings were really quite surprising. Although I interviewed like grassroots and professional goalkeepers, a lot of the findings they were very similar. So regardless of what level you're at, they still deal with the same sort of psychological challenges. A lot of things related back to like isolation from teammates. Oh, loneliness. That was the other psychological challenge. But even that was no small feat for doing the dissertation, because there literally nothing has been written on goalkeepers or female goalkeepers, or like psychological wise. There was a lot of things on like like saving a penalty and how they respond to that. But in terms of match and training and match, there was nothing really. So I'll let me have a quick look actually of my dissertation. Let me try and refresh my memory, if that's all right.
Because it is the position on a football pitch where if a goalkeeper makes a mistake, it normally results in a goal, and especially.
That's what I did speak about. I spoke about making mistakes. That was a sort of a branch from certain psychological challenges of making a mistake can then lead to feeling isolated by your teammates. Because I had some goalkeepers that spoke about obviously they make a mistake and teammates and managers then turn on them, and them not being understood fully by managers. So one of my recommendations at the end of my dissertation was how much more we needed understanding from like managers, not just goalkeeper coaches, which is a problem. It is a problem that managers don't have that understanding. And in training as well, like just sticking a goalkeeper in the goal is not beneficial to their tactical development, social development, because they're not mixing with the team. And now you have more modern day goalkeepers that can use their feet and they like to play out from the back. So why not just let them join in with the outfield training and then but they obviously have to do goalkeeper specific. But that was one of the questions that I did ask at the end of the interview was, do they think that managers have a good understanding of the psychological challenges? And every single goalkeeper said no, unless they've been a goalkeeper themselves. And I think that does highlight a big problem within the goalkeeper sector, if you will. Yeah.
And of course, with like penalty shootouts as well, it's a real pressure cooker situation. For example, let's take the Euros and that penalty shootout against Italy, and what, of course, resulted in that match as well. That was, I'm sure, for Jordan Pickford, extremely stressful. He handled it really well.
Well, you say that, but I kind of disagree. I think that for a goalkeeper, they have to be so at that level as well. They have to be so mentally prepared. Jordan Pickford probably got to a stage in the game where he said, like, to himself, "Look, this is going to penalties." So he probably started, doing all the things psychologically to help him then be calm towards penalty. Obviously, it's a lot is lying on it, but I think as a goalkeeper, you accept, okay, this is going to penalties. And then with a penalty, it's like, you just give it your all. It is swayed a lot more towards the outfielder scoring the penalty, especially now they've brought that stupid rule in where you have to stay on your line. Like,
Yes.
it's inevitable that a penalty will go in, and it's just it's just luck, really. And obviously, I'm sure Jordan Pickford would have gone through penalty takers and people and tacticals, things like that with the England squad. So he probably would have felt more confident towards penalties than he did towards the randomness of a game.
Yeah. No, it's quite really interesting actually, because it's something that I've never really thought of, which is the psychology of somebody being isolated there at the back. What happens when the other team, who you might have been on top of throughout the game, then makes a break, and of course it's of such a vital position, because if it gets past you, it normally ends in a goal.
Yeah. We are the last line of defence, and that is such a weight to hold on your shoulders, knowing that ball, you can be the decision between winning a match, drawing a match, or losing a match. So, and I don't think that keepers are given enough credit for the actual impact that can have. And when you don't have support from your teammates, that's just where the downhill spiral comes from. And you'd be surprised, like for me personally, I've been in situations where I've not felt confident, or I've not felt confidence from my teammates, and I play better when I know that there's not going to be any backlash, and there's not going to be, and I am unbelievable when I feel that. But when you make a tiny mistake and the team is on you, that is when you just can't have that, especially with a goalkeeper. They've got to be like the most confident person on the field.
Yeah. Oh yeah, most definitely. How did you actually balance doing the degree with playing football as well?
Yeah, so I didn't live a typical student lifestyle. I didn't go out that much. Obviously, I went out, but I can't lie. It was, COVID helped a little bit when
Yeah.
obviously football was stopped, although that sucked. But for me, doing a degree, it meant that I wasn't having to, because Fylde's quite a far away from Manchester. It meant that I had evenings free, because although like our training's like 2 hours long, it takes like an hour to get there, an hour to get back.
Yeah.
So all in all, that's like 4 hours out of your evening. So it was nice, like being able to chill and take ownership of my own training as well. Like I focused a bit more on like running during lockdown. But when it wasn't COVID, I guess it's just managing your time. It's thinking about, okay, well, do I really need to attend this lecture today, and make sure that I do work? I can't lie, I did pull a few all-nighters trying to get assignments done, but it seemed to, I mean, all-nighters as well. And it's just obviously prioritizing, and then obviously balancing coaching with that as well. But luckily, I had a manager because I coach for a goalkeeping company, and my boss is really understanding of me being a student. So if I needed, the week off from coaching, then he'd give that to me. So yeah, it's just all about like managing time effectively.
So with regards to goalkeeping coaching, you are coaching young children as well about the sport. What sort of advice would you give them from an early age how to actually get into the professional women's or men's game?
Well, with regards to boys, I know that it is unbelievably hard. Like like I think 1% or something. That's the statistic that sort of seems to linger about of men getting into football. But it would just be, listen to what your coaches are saying. Don't, especially with boys. So this is advice for boys. Don't let that ego take over you. Like it's so easy to get washed up within like the culture that is now within younger boys football, and it's to stay grounded and to listen to coaches, take on advice, but also listen to the criticism as well. Us as coaches, we don't criticize players because we feel like it. We do it because we want to improve you. And try hands at, especially for younger kids, boys and girls included. Try their hand at different sports, because there's a lot of transferable skills that you can take from different sports into football. And for girls especially, obviously it's difficult. It's a lot more demanding, I'd say, from a society point of view to try and become a woman in football. Even now, I know people like to think that women football is on the up, but when you actually take a look at it from a younger girl standpoint, it's not where it needs to be. As much as they like to glamorize women's football at the top. But for the girls, it's just make the decision that is something you want to do, and stick at it. It's not easy. You're definitely going to go through periods where you're like, why am I doing this? Especially if you're from a household like me, low income, you don't necessarily have parents that can drive you 2 hours to get to training, and try and get into as much competitive environments as you can, because obviously for girls, we can't just walk out the door and there be proper competitive environments for us. Like I said, you have to travel. So it's just obviously being prepared to make a sacrifice, parents included, to take your daughter out somewhere and get them, if that's what they want to do. But I would say from a younger age, just play in the community, play grassroots. Girls and boys, just play grassroots football and don't get sucked in by these academies that want to bring in 6-year-olds. Like it's ridiculous. Try grassroots football is where you're going to develop socially, tactically. These academies just want to create the perfect footballer, and there's no such thing. And you want to make friends, and when you're that age, just make friends, build that social, and have fun. Because I think when you're in academy, it just sucks the fun out of it, and it's just so serious, and you've just got this thingy. So yeah, that's sort of, in a wishy-washy way, that's my advice to boys and girls.
Let's talk about Her Game Too, which is a campaign that I'm a big supporter of. We recently had on here Amy, who did the Harry Redknapp interview with me, and also Eve on our opposition preview show recently as well. As a female footballer, do you think things are improving, and what more can be done?
Things are improving. It's a little bit like, forgive me for making this comparison, but it is a little bit like racism. people aren't as outspoken as they once were in person because they now have a platform online that they can use to say their opinion, if that makes sense. So from the outside world, it looks like it's better because people aren't as open about their feelings. But online, you just see that these opinions are just more close to people's chest, and that obviously when they've got a platform, then they can. But I think more still needs to be done in better access for younger girls, like I've just said about competitions and things like that, making sure that there is access for them to play with the boys and make sure that they feel comfortable. Coaches understanding that obviously girls, when they hit certain ages, I still deal with it now, like coaches that don't understand that, you know, I'm not going to be performing my best because I'm on my period. But coaches, especially at grassroots, might not take that into consideration. So it's things like that, and understanding female football, not just because female and men's football is completely different, and the needs of a female footballer and the personality of a female football player will be a lot different than men's from boys. So, for example, girls like to ask more questions, whereas boys typically like to be told what to do. And then obviously girls like to. So it's more understanding needed from the adults, and we can't just glamorize women's female football at the top. We have to start looking at this part of the lower end, the young girls that are just come in, because yes, that looks amazing, but we need that access for those girls, to that pathway to be easier for the girls to reach that level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Of course, with social media as well, that it was awful that you come under attack from some disgusting sexist comments recently. As a father of a football mad daughter, it just angers me that anybody could say these sort of things, hiding behind a pseudonym, and abuse women in all forms. What would you want to say to those individuals?
Do you know what? It doesn't bother me. Yes, it is irritating, but unfortunately, that is something that I have had to deal with pretty much all my life, being a woman in football, and it hurts more when it's face to face. Online, it is laughable, and it is just you know, if you feel the need to sit and make comments about my appearance, what I'm wearing, I've had people that are illegitimizing my degree because of a dress that I wore, and that I'm allowed to show off my body just because I like football. You know, I'm allowed to wear whatever I want. I'm allowed to dress however I want. So just to make comments like that, I think they want a reaction, and I'm not going to respond to that. It's like, you know, but I am just absolutely overwhelmed with the amount of support and like congratulations from people. I'm all for having a joke. I can take a joke, but when you are trying to degrade and undermine things that I have achieved just because of my gender, something that I can't change, then that's a problem. But I can take a joke. Like, people are sharing it and they're like, you know, can you come and coach Man United? Like, of course, it's something so ridiculous. But it's funny. It is funny. And they're doing it in jest. They're not coming from a malicious place. And there's a very thin line. And I think these people, that it's always the same. And do you know what's worse? When it's people that actually have their account on public as well. And people with daughters, and you just think like, I feel bad for them, and I feel
honestly, it's disgusting because I can imagine how you felt, and I would be horrified if anybody said that about my daughter. And it's completely utterly shocking. Actually, Eve said exactly the same as you just said there. It is men with daughters, with children, with wives and girlfriends, and they're just making these awful comments online. How do social media stop it?
I think it is getting everyone that ID. They have to prove it does need to be more regulated. I feel lucky that I'm not constantly in the public eye and I'm not constantly receiving this. I feel bad for those celebrities that have to deal with this on a daily basis and things that are worse. They need to regulate it more. Like, if someone makes a tweet about something that's a little bit controversial, Twitter are very quick to take that down. But as soon as it's something regarding, I just don't get how they're allowed to get away with it. And it needs to be taken more serious. But I'm not head of Twitter. I'm not. And a lot of people are. It's up to them, really, whether they choose to listen to us or not. I can't really do much apart from just give my opinion.
And there was an article written by Emily Attack the other day from the In-Betweeners and Celebrity Juice, which was completely and utterly shocking what she's had to put up with as well. And I think the only way they can do it is actually regulate it, get IDs, and hold people accountable, because at the end of the day, I'm a great believer, if somebody puts something online, it's online forever. Regardless of if they delete it or remove it or change it, it's there. And those words, even if it's on there for 5 minutes, could cause harm to somebody else.
It's like when one of the comments that really stuck out to me was this bloke that commented, and I think he had 2 daughters, and I actually responded to that tweet because I think it was one of the first ones, and he then apologized, but I didn't respond to that apology. And then he then wrote another tweet, and I can't remember. I think he said that I need to, lighten up a little bit or something along those lines. And I was like, if the comment you made wasn't that bad, then you wouldn't have felt the need to sincerely apologise to me. Then he told me to get off my high horse. And I just thought, like, it just makes you laugh, like, because you're just like, what goes through these people's heads? But I'm very thick-skinned, and I've had to be. I mean, I'm a bloody female goalkeeper, for God's sake. We're not exactly the most favoured people on social media, so I'm very thick-skinned, and I think it's one of them ones where you have to laugh. Really,
Yeah.
You can't harbour it, but just take strength from the people that actually are sending good energy and congratulations and things like that.
Well, you've got all of our support on here. I can guarantee you that, Beth.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet.
No problem. Of course, in the England-Andorra game that recently took place over there, we had an all-female refereeing team who actually managed the game exceptionally well. How much of a step is that in the right direction, and how long do you reckon it'll be before we see a Premier League game with a female referee?
Unfortunately, I didn't get to see that game, but I did see the fact that it was an all-female officials game. So that is huge. But I don't want that to be just a token. Don't want the is it UEFA?
Yes.
Just to sort of throw that out there, UEFA to just throw that sort of thing out there. Like, look, we've done this now. That's it for another 5 years. I want that to be something that is a door opening to more female officials and it just becoming normal. I don't want it to be it. Why does it have to be like no like Sky Sports main news that it's an all female?
Mm.
It needs to get to that stage where it's just normal, like where you just have a just they're just seen as a referee, not a male or female, just a ref.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, completely agree. And sex shouldn't come into it. And it's very true. You know, it was boomed all over Sky Sports News, over the social media, over the website as well. And really, they managed that game fantastically well.
Oh, I wish I'd
And
seen that.
yeah, and honestly, it, you know, like you say, it should be just classed
No.
as a refereeing team, and you know the sex shouldn't be brought into it. Completely agree. Of course, the women's game is really growing. What would you say your aspirations are for the long term in football?
I've said this before and I will say it again. We need to not follow in the same footsteps as men's football with regards to, you know, pumping loads of money in and making it something that it's not. We need to use money that we do have in nurturing young women's football and obviously the championship players and WSL, rightly so, they need to be on full-time wages, but
Yeah.
don't let women's football become that ridiculous where it is like men's football, because it actually makes me feel sick when I see some of the wages that men's football is on.
Oh
If
yeah.
anything, they need to bring down men's wages, and I'm not asking for equality in terms of pay here. I definitely do think that women's football needs to come on a lot more competitively before even a consideration of equal pay, because I don't think that with regards to sponsorship and things like that. But I think there needs to be a closer gap in terms of pay with men and women's football. But money that does come in, it does need to go into more accessibility to better coaching, better facilities, better opposition for younger generations. Otherwise, we'll just see women's football just become stagnant.
Yeah, most definitely. And you know, it is great the strides that women's football has made as well. Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
Hopefully, well known for making a difference within women's football or football in general. Speaking out about
Mhm.
things that are going on within the world and within the football world. I'd like to see myself in sort of a management position. I mean, I have studied a football coaching and management degree, so I do want to see myself a manager of you know somewhere, or possibly goalkeeper coaching at an academy, or have my own goalkeeping business. Just I would like to remain within the football industry, but who knows? I'm very very much open to doing a lot of things. I could be in a completely different route, but I would like to remain within football and continuing to make a change somehow.
Excellent stuff. And I've had a little look at the Instagram. You're quite adventurous, aren't you? There was a Ninja Warrior video, wasn't there?
Yeah, I like to go out and do things that are just not like um not normal, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I like to just go to these little places that are just not like, you know, not your typical go out for a drink and stuff. I'd much rather go up the Lake District and I don't know, do something and or, you know, visit somewhere that's just like a bit odd. I like things
Yeah.
like that. A bit like is it a candle shop, or is it, well, no, it's like an ornament shop in York, and they have like
Mhm.
ghosts. I'm not sure if you've
Yeah,
seen, like, yeah,
I
they,
haven't. No.
oh, okay, yeah, they've got it's like a ghost shop, and you can just pick your ghost out, and but I love things like that. Love things that are just, I don't know, I think I get that from my dad, really, because he used to
Yeah.
take me to these weird and like, or abandoned buildings when I was younger. I just like, and especially if it's got sport involved, I
Mhm.
like to do something that's like active. Yeah.
A Ninja Warrior, how did you get on with the course?
Very good, you know.
You did better than me. I would be useless.
I managed to get up that whatever it's called, the wall thing. But
Yeah.
my hands were sweating so much that I couldn't grip onto anything.
Mm.
So I think they do sell gloves there, and now I know why, because I was like, I'm not buying them. I don't need gloves. But next time, if I did go again, I would like gloves, because you just can't hang on to anything because it's all like slippery
Yeah.
and stuff. So yeah, it was. I didn't get on very.
Why didn't you take your goalkeeping gloves, Beth?
I know.
So,
That is a great idea, Craig. And you didn't think that. Goodness me.
I've always wanted to do the Crystal Maze, to be honest. I always thought that would be good
Yes.
fun.
They have, I think they have like a Crystal Maze experience in Manchester.
Mm.
So if you're ever up, where is it? You're at London? Well, no,
No, I'm in Bournemouth.
Bournemouth, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're ever up in Manchester, I mean, it's quite a big, quite far away, but I think they do have like a Crystal Maze thing here.
Excellent. There we are. We'll be on the same team, shall we?
Yeah, could
Yeah,
do.
we
I'll buy
go.
my
Look at
goalkeeper
that.
gloves then. They might come in handy.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Beth. It's been real pleasure and honestly so insightful as well. And I'm sure that everybody would love to read that dissertation that you did about the psychology of goalkeepers, because
Yeah,
that will be really interesting.
definitely. I was thinking about getting it. Well, my dissertation supervisor, he wanted to get it published, but you have to pay to get your stuff published. It's just something that's wrong within the academia world. But yeah, but thank you for having me on, and I really hope that someone watches this and they take anything from it. They take at least one thing from it. And thank you for picking my brain. And it's nice to actually have a discussion with someone that wants to listen and has a passion for football in general. So it is nice.
Yeah, thank you so much, Beth. It's been an absolute pleasure.
You're so welcome.
And thank you, everybody, for joining me on this special show. Please do remember to hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell icons below to make sure that you're alerted whenever any new videos come out. Please also do check the Her Game 2 video with Eve that was done ahead of the Bristol City game. Also, there will be a very special interview coming up with a Bournemouth legend. I'll leave that out there. But until the next one, up the cherries, and I'll see you then.